Unsyndicated presents Off the Air with Sean the Legion.
So what is going on? Do you know this guy? Have you seen this guy before? Have you seen him someplace before? Surprise. There's your surprise. Shep, what's up, buddy?
Real big surprise. Great, my friend. How are you?
A couple guys guessed this. We had a guessing game. I did the cheesy tease game from our radio times.
Yeah.
Coming up at 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll tell you about. I'm so glad I don't have to do that crap anymore.
You did it well. It's just not always us.
My teases were all awful.
I should call him Stevie Winwood. Back in the High Life again. You ever hear that song?
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Very familiar.
Walk into this house. I'm like, oh.
There we go.
Where's the butler? I'm expecting somebody to show up almost like a waiter and then serve me something as soon as I walk in.
I should have had some.
Get greeted by your two dogs. Ferocious
aren't they
animals.
wonderful?
Oh.
Aren't they wonderful?
You should see
dogs?
my pant leg right now, ladies and gentlemen.
You got two as well, though, right? What kinds do you have?
I have two golden retrievers.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah.
Dogs are the best.
Boys really aggressive, girls laid back.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's the way it is in life. I'm just telling you. It's been a long time since we've been out there. I'm just telling you. The boy dog, very aggressive. The girl dog, laid back.
He's Matt Shepard. Have we made formal introductions? Are you familiar with his work? He's done a little bit of things around town. So he and I are going to be doing some stuff in the near future, which is great. Shep, I love this because for a multitude of reasons. One of the things that, I really love about this is I don't have somebody poking me in the back or in my ear saying you're talking too much about hockey.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Which can't be enough. I mean, that's ridiculous for you.
No, that's exactly it. By the way, Pete already chimed in. Matt, I said hey to you at the boys football state championship game this past November, and I felt like Jack Ruby because I yelled your name out my car window.
Hi, Pete. Good to see you. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate that.
You got a busy weekend, too. You're doing MHSAA basketball finals.
Yeah, so you did the hockey state championships last week,
Yep.
and I was talking with a lot of the folks at MHSAA in East Lansing yesterday about that, about what a great event that was.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Well done there. So I'm doing the boys high school state championships with Gregory Kelser tomorrow, and then next weekend we'll do the girls state championships, and I'll be doing it with Grant Long. So excited about that. I think people enjoy. We're not going to talk about high school sports, but I do enjoy the aspect of the sheer joy of them being there.
Absolutely.
And the community support. Now, do we get the same type of community feel at the high school state boys football state championships as Texas? No. Or Ohio? Probably not. But when you see teams out there in full force, it makes a big difference. When you did the high school state championships in hockey last weekend, from what I understood, it was standing room only.
Yep.
And that's really cool. Now, it's not Minnesota.
Nope.
So what? They sell out the XL Energy Center or whatever it's called these days. But still, to have it sold out and standing room only tells you something about the support people have in the area.
It is improved so much, Matt. Forget about 20, 30 years. It has improved 10 years. The level of play, what's happening in hockey, and I know you understand the hockey world better than the average person. A lot of those kids that would go to AAA even 10 years ago are making the choice to play high school.
Right.
And that has improved the product so much. It's incredible. I couldn't agree with you more. I posted a couple pictures on X and Facebook of the games last week. And of course, people jump in and put their pictures of Minnesota. Nobody's saying it's Minnesota.
Right.
Minnesota's on a level itself, and work shuts down for the hometown team, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, boy, it's a heck of a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah,
The product is just really good now.
And to have the support that we have with our really good college programs. I mean, Michigan State's one of the best programs in the country right now. Michigan traditionally is right there, right? I think it's great that Lake Superior and Western Michigan and the various other programs have been successful at one point or another, Northern Michigan as well. And you see the number of pros who come from this great state and you see the number of kids who go on to play in college from this great state, only Minnesota has more than any state in the country than Michigan.
Yeah.
And it tells you something, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful. Look, I don't care what sport you're playing, as long as you're playing something. That's the most important thing. But hockey does teach you a lot of valuable lessons, at least it did for my three boys.
Shep, let me ask you this, because I don't know if you feel the same way. 15, 20 years ago, I had next to no interest in going and seeing a high school event. Something happened to me in the last 10 years. I absolutely love to go out, and I'm not even talking about covering an event. Okay. I absolutely love to go out on a Friday night. Let me roll down the street and watch Northfield.
Who do you go with?
Well, sometimes I'll go with, my wife. Sometimes I'll go, if my kids are around or something like that. I just like to go watch high school sports for the reason that you gave.
Did you get that bug, though, when your kids were participating?
I think so. Do you know what it was for me, Shep, is I remembered how much fun it was when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Like, honestly, that's what hit me. And going to the Stevenson hockey games and, going over and seeing Northville or Novi play or something. I enjoy going and watching these kids play. It's just a fun, and I know it's cheesy, I know it's trite. It's just pure, and it's enjoyment. Yeah. It's like it reminds guys like us that have been in the business too long and got all jaded and everything. It reminds us like how cool sports are.
Well, I think it also reminds us that not everybody can play at the next level, and you have to enjoy the moment when you have it. So there's a couple of things that I get out of it. One, I understand that for every kid, it may be their last game.
Yep.
If you're doing a state championship game like you and I have done, you realize most of these kids, they're not playing at the next level. I remember my last football game vividly in high school. I cried. I didn't take my uniform off for an hour because I knew I wasn't playing anymore. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But the other thing that I've recognized, and it's borderline unfortunate, is parents are much more aggressive to coaches and officials and almost try to coach from the sidelines. I witnessed it yesterday in one of the basketball games where I saw a young man look up, and it was his dad, had to be his dad, and he was just telling him what to do. And I'm thinking, this is not the time to be doing that, man. I mean, you're out there with a team, you're playing to try and reach the state semis or a state championship for the first time in school history, and you're trying to coach from the stands?
Yeah.
Wrong time.
Yeah.
Wrong time to do it.
Couldn't agree more.
Don't want to use that as the blueprint. Everything else has been fantastic. And I think the MHSA has done a really nice job with it. I just wish there would be more people going to the Breslin Center and doing what you just said you did. Go and check out some really high-end talent.
Awesome. Tim said, how do we get the hockey finals on Bally's? Years ago, they were on Pass. They were on Fox Sports Detroit 10, 11 years ago, because I know I called some of the games back then. Yeah. I don't know what the decision-making was, but I agree with you. I think the sport has gotten to a point that instead of just, being streamed or whatever, I don't know, call me a stickler, and I'm not trying to take money out of anybody's pocket, but I firmly believe that people should be able to watch that stuff for free.
100%. All right. So there's a couple of things there. I think it's a great question, first and foremost. How many people are cutting cords now? So maybe the streaming is a little bit better. Bally Sports has 2 channels. They've got the Bally Sports Detroit. They got the Bally Sports Plus. Why couldn't you put it on Plus? Understand this. It costs a lot of money to hire a talent like this. So that cuts into your budget. You've got a television truck that you've got to rent. That can be challenging too. And let's be honest, as much as we love it, how many companies are buying advertising for the high school state championship?
That's reality.
It's not enough.
It's
so
reality.
This is what I tell fans all the time. I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right that it should be for free, but it's not. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is what I tell people. Go out there and get a statewide company. And this is more of a salesperson's job, but I think people in general, they need to speak up. A statewide company, Farm Bureau Insurance, I'll use that as an example. Hey, man, please invest in it. Mm-hmm. All right? Because it should be on TV. If you're going to put the basketball and the football on, why not hockey? Why not baseball? I mean, if kids are going down and playing at Comerica Park, or they're playing at a beautiful facility like there is in Plymouth, go out there and support them. But companies have to. they've got to be willing to advertise it. Now, how much it is, I don't know. So it's really hard for me to say that they've got to put their money where their mouth is, and people have to force them or tell them to do that. But I just think it's unfortunate that not enough. It's only 3 divisions in hockey. It's basically a day. So you're broadcasting from morning to night. What's wrong with that? The MHSAA needs to work with the professional teams and recognize where's the off day. This is when we need to play our games. So we are the focus of a sports fan's, I don't know, a sports fan's willingness to watch TV for a little bit.
Yeah.
And they could have watched all 3 of those games. And from what I understand, they were excellent hockey games. Yeah. How many people know about it?
It was,
Papers don't even cover it, you guys.
And the reality is, I know many of you probably watch the stuff we do with state champs. We can't do that show that we do without like 2 of our major sponsors. And I have no problem saying their name. I mean, Warrior and Alta.
Yeah.
There's no way we could do that show.
Right.
And Shep, we get so many views per week, and, people, thank you, have made it, part of their, I guess, everyday life, so to speak, and everything. But we can't do that. It's not as easy as it sounds, if that makes sense. And I'm glad that you explained it that way, because yes, in theory, Tim, I feel the exact same way. I wish we could have it back we did it on Fox Sports Detroit. I did my games with a couple coaches around the area that I know and everything. It's about finding those sponsorships and everything. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, here's a cheesy radio segue. Rebuilds sound really, really cool.
Right.
But they aren't easy to do.
Yeah.
Even if you're a legend and a guy who did it before down in Tampa and basically made a model for everybody else to follow, like Steve Yzerman. And Shep, by the way, I want to be crystal clear. Steve Yzerman is going to make this work. There's no doubt in my mind. I have 0 doubt in my mind. I think from day one, as often is the case, Shep, I'm a firm believer, if you listen to what a general manager or a coach says, more often than not, you'll get the answer that you need. It might not be the answer that you're looking for, but you're going to get the answer that you need. And he stood in front of everybody on April 19th, 2019, and he did not give you roses. He did not spread sunshine. He said, this isn't going to be easy. This is going to take a long time. He didn't use these words. I'll use these words. This was going to be a 5-year plan. There's a reason why that term exists in the National Hockey League. And Shep, the problem here in Detroit that he did not have in Tampa is there was no not quite ready for primetime Steven Stamkos, and there was no not quite ready for primetime Victor Hedman.
Right.
And they started at a position.
Didn't have Vasilevsky either.
Right.
So.
And it was going to take
But
longer.
Ken Holland said the same thing, Sean.
Yes.
And because Ken Holland had success and then failure and helping set a standard with the Red Wings, people got a little bit more anxious. And of course, people also deflected credit from Holland to Jimmy Devellano and Scotty Bowman. All right. Which I always felt was unfair. Steve Yzerman comes in and they deflect blame from Yzerman back to Ken Holland.
It's a true statement.
Okay. And I think a lot of it has to do with the draft picks, for sure. Chalowski, Zadina, you could go on and on to a number of them. But at what point, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or you feel comfortable answering it, at what point do you say, all right, now we've turned the corner? If you didn't feel like now was the time, why did you go out and get Comfer? Why'd you go out and get Kane? Why'd you go out and get certain guys on the blue line? I don't know. I thought this year was the year to do it. And now they're out of a playoff spot, in case people are wondering, because they lost their 7th game in a row last night to the Arizona Coyotes, who shut them out in Arizona and then just beat them 4-1 last night. That's 8-1 in 2 games against Arizona.
Arizona, by the way. Shep, I always looked at, this was just my opinion, and I said this from day one, whether it be radio, television, and now here. I always looked at the 24-25 season as I was going to look at that roster and say, how close are we? Because this really was, and I could tell you if you want, I had somebody tell me this really truly was going to be a quote unquote 5-year plan. So I always looked at, all right, he's hired April 19th, 2019. Let's give him the 2024 draft, give him the free agency season, and let's see where this team is at the beginning of 24. Do I think that they're going to be ready to compete the way that he said that he wants them to be? Because remember, his words, not mine. We don't want to just get into the playoffs.
Right.
We want to get back to that point that so many of us grew accustomed to. Do I think they'll be at that point? No, but I'm with you.
That's next year. You don't think next year they're going to be at that point?
No, I don't. I don't think they have enough. I mean, if Larkin's injury has shown us anything, I think it's shown us two things. Number one, they don't have the organizational depth yet.
Right.
I don't think there's any debate. And number two, Alex Lyon was playing out of his mind. And the question was, how long was that going to continue?
Because he's not an everyday goalie guy. Look, he helped Florida last year.
Immensely.
But not as an everyday guy.
No, absolutely. Okay.
So then this begs the question. I think those are all fair points. Mm-hmm. So I've got a couple of things that I wanted to ask you. One is Sebastian Cossa, Steve Yzerman first-round pick. Not great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matter of fact, the goalie at Michigan State,
Trey Augustine,
who's a freshman in class, but a lot of people think he's more talented than Sebastian Cossa. I'm not saying I think that. I think a lot of people within the organization feel that way. So that's number one. And number two, if that is the case, and Dylan Larkin is that important, how many people have said to you, and I know this, they've said it to you because you and I have had brief conversations about it. Oh, he's not a number one center. I'm not saying he is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's probably more of a number two.
Agreed.
But look at the best number two centers in the NHL right now. Let's just take JT Miller for Vancouver, for example. He's the number two center on really a very good team. I think, are they the best in the West? And Colorado, Las Vegas, Vancouver's in that discussion. JT Miller's a hell of a player. He'd be the number one center on this team. Now, maybe it's because of the talent that they have around him, but Larkin's got some talent too, right? If you go out and you sign DeBrincat and you sign Kane and you make some free agents, my thought was, maybe naively so, this is a year they're going to make the playoffs.
By the way, you and I share a lot of the same interest in music. You're familiar with Rage Against the Machine?
I am.
Okay, and you're familiar with Anger is a Gift?
Yes.
I know JT Miller, and let me just tell you this. Anger is a gift.
Yeah.
That kid has an anger that he plays with anger. I mean, and I, JT, if you're listening, don't beat me up. That's a compliment. Anger is a gift. He plays angry and that just walks around with that snarl and everything. It's funny that you bring that up about the goaltenders because I've been talking that for the last couple of weeks. We were just talking about it on the What the Puck show. By the way, What the Puck tonight, special guest Red Berenson. He's familiar with Red Berenson.
Love him. Have you had Adam Nightingale on yet?
No, but it's funny you say that. Adam and I have had a few discussions about doing that.
Great dude.
Oh, he's a great dude.
Great dude.
He was on my radio show until I got fired. But anyway, Shep, this almost reminds me of the Ben Bishop, Andre Vasilevsky situation. I think a lot of people thought that Ben Bishop was going to be the guy. And if you remember, Ben Bishop took them to heights that they hadn't succeeded, including getting to the Stanley Cup.
He was a legitimate number one.
Steve's long-term goal was the guy that they drafted in Vasilevsky. And it was going to take some years. And Vasilevsky obviously turned into, well, I'm not sure you could say it now, but there was a few-year span where he was undoubtedly the best goaltender in the world. And I think a lot of people are wondering, in the long scope of things, looking at the long term, has Augustine jumped over Sebastian? I don't know the answer to that. I don't, but I know a lot of people are suggesting that.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that you can't compete at a high level because, I mean, look how close they came to winning a cup with all those good teams before Vasilevsky even took over.
Sure. And
to me, that's where, okay, how close is this team? And when I say compete, I don't mean just getting in the playoffs. I agree with Steve, okay? I mean, legitimately, you have a chance. You're looking at a series. I don't care if you're playing Florida in the first round. I don't care if you're playing Boston in the first round. I don't care if you're playing Rangers, whatever. You look at that series and you go, they got a shot. They've got a shot. I look at them right now, even a couple of weeks ago, okay? If they played the Florida Panthers in the first round, Florida was going to rock them. And the reason why I say that is They've got that sandpaper. They've got that formula. They've got that playoff hockey thing typed down.
Florida, you're saying?
Yes.
They are so flippin' aggressive.
I love them.
I mean, they get after you. You can't breathe against them. And don't give me it's not the same as what New Jersey was back in the mid-'90s. I'm talking about they are like I liken it in football to a man-to-man defense where guys are blitzing constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a constant in-your-face pressure by Florida. I think that's going to be tough for anybody to beat.
100%. No, you know what? I want to ask you about Michigan basketball in a second. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. He was the voice of Michigan basketball. I know it was during the Beeline era, but you know Coach Howard a little bit, right?
A little bit. Not
okay.
A lot. I don't know how many people truly know him.
I want to get your thoughts about, both Michigan and Michigan State in a minute, but obviously we're wrapping up the hockey. So let me ask you. The good news is Patty Waugh and the Islanders have lost a couple games in a row to keep the Wings hanging there.
Yeah.
Betting man, which I know you're not, nor am I. Do the Wings make the playoffs?
I think they look really discombobulated right now.
I agree.
I thought before my concern was, well, they got to outscore everybody. Now they're not scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And I get you missing Larkin, but your point about the lack of depth is so there. I just thought they could overcome a loss of one guy. I guess it depends on the guy, right?
There's something off with the team.
I would say right now, if you're looking at Tampa, Washington's right on their heels now. And Washington, I don't think is very good. They lost. They've got owned by Buffalo twice. How much of it is mental? I think they've got a lot of talent with DeBrincat. I like so many of their guys. I'm going to say yes because I'm trying to be a glass half full guy, but they better get the head out of the canal pretty damn quick.
Do you know what the problem is, Shep? It isn't just the losses, it's the way the losses are happening.
Agreed.
That's frightening to me right now. Their defense core is abysmal. I'll say it. You're talking about massive upgrades on the defense core. I love Jeff Petrie. I love him as a human being. His father's one of the most wonderful human beings ever.
Without a doubt.
When it starts to go for a hockey player, though,
goes fast.
And you mentioned Alex Ovechkin, or you mentioned Washington. Alex Ovechkin's not going to catch Wayne Gretzky. You're fooling yourself if you think it's going to happen. He looks every bit of 58. 38 right now. He really does. It's not going to happen. It was a cute story. He's on pace, I think, for 23 this year, which would get him 50 away. On the pace that he's playing, let's just say at 39, he comes back. Yeah. You're talking about maybe 3 more seasons. It's not going to happen. It was a cute run. Congratulations.
It's an unbelievable run, man. People, I think I had this conversation with, I've got a good friend. He's a captain in the police station and at a police station. His son is in the Colorado Avalanche organization. One of my boys and those two and I went down to the Wings and Avalanche. Mm-hmm. And so he knows the Colorado system because he was at camp with them.
Right.
And I was telling these youngsters about Gretzky and how dominant he truly was.
You don't know.
And how people, I'm not sure they truly appreciate or understand the ungodly numbers that he was putting up. And Austin Matthews had just scored, I believe, his 54th goal in like his 58th game, something like that. And they were just marveling at it. And I turned around and I said, how about 50 and 39?
Good.
That's
why I like Shep.
I said, that was Gretzky. How about 200 points in 4 out of 5 years? How about Hart Trophy 8 straight years and then 9 out of 10? And I said, the hard thing about that is, and I wrote about this before, when you reach a certain status, like Gretzky, like Jordan, certain people, right? You've set a standard. Everybody who votes for those awards, they don't vote for you just against this guy and that guy and that guy. They're voting against you from a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So for him to win 8 in a row, to me, he's the most dominant athlete of my lifetime.
There's no argument.
Okay. He may not be the best because Sean loves Mario Lemieux. He thinks he's the best of all time.
No, I don't. But
I'm telling you, and there was a time where Gretzky, I think he played 45 games and had 65 points. He was hurt that year. He got hurt. He's just an amazing
You know,
scorer.
my favorite number, my favorite Wayne Gretzky number is here. He leads the league in goals, obviously 894. If he never scored a goal, he still scored more points than anybody to play the game.
Right.
That's insane.
It is.
I mean, it is. Mario was unbelievable. Let's give Mario his flowers.
Yeah.
He was, gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
Health,
Larry Murphy's
everything.
a friend of ours. We talked to Larry Murphy
like
about it. Larry Murphy will tell you Sidney Crosby's still the best 200-foot center in hockey in the world right now. But he'll tell you, I mean, Lemieux was just
unbelievable.
When another Hall of Famer looks at a guy and says, that guy's the shit, you know damn well he's the real
Can I tell you my favorite thing I do with Larry Murphy? I don't know if I've ever told you this. So you know the
Drink a
famous
beer?
play in Canada Cup. The famous play in Canada Cup. Gretzky and Lemieux, right?
Yeah, right.
Beat the Russians and everything.
Yeah.
That turned into a 3-on-1. And if you go back and you look at that play, Larry Murphy's the trailer.
Yeah.
And I love looking at Murphy and go, now, at what point in time did you realize you weren't going to see the puck?
You told me that story.
And he laughs. And so now I'll see him and he'll go, I think I knew right away. Like, he'll just go ahead and say it before I even have to. And, you know, my little smartass. Now, Murph, can I ask you a question? At what point did you realize I'm not going to see the puck? This could be a 70-on-1, and I'm still not going to see the puck.
Not with those two guys.
No.
It's funny. We were having this conversation about the best trio in hockey. And somebody, I think a friend of my wife said something about Pittsburgh because they brought up Lemieux, Yager, and Crosby. And I said, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I said, the problem, I guess you could throw Malkin in there. And maybe if you want to throw Paul Coffey in there. I don't know where Coffey belongs. I said, but Edmonton, I mean, because we were looking at Connor McDavid, who I absolutely love. Yeah. Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Paul Coffey. You could go on. And I said, but look at the Red Wings. Look at how deep they would go. So I love playing this game with people because everybody has you would say Montreal, everybody has their own personal, their love affair with certain people and there's certain organizations. I get that. I respect that. But with the Red Wings, where do you stop? No. It's amazing. So it's a fun discussion to have.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. Let me finish with, I love Jeff, but he's showing his age. And when it starts to go, it starts to go.
I thought it was a great pickup at the time.
Oh, so did I.
But
absolutely. Especially the price. Are you kidding me? That was great. You know, and it's unfortunate they're going to need to fine tune. What's going on with Big Ten basketball?
Well, Michigan State's in. So that's great. Okay.
No doubt.
I don't think they're going to be Purdue at noon.
No.
Even though Zach Edey's not going to be a good pro, he may not be a first-round pick. He's going to be a 2-time National Player of the Year. Probably may not be a first-round pick. Just doesn't play the game at the collegiate level the way they play at the NBA level. NBA level, they don't look. Zach Edey would have been really good 15 years ago. Now everybody wants stretch fours and stretch fives.
100%.
They want Luka Doncic. They want the second coming of Dirk Nowitzki. That's just the way it is. I don't want Isaiah Stewart shooting threes. I don't mind him sitting inside, but the Pistons need somebody who is similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo, don't we all, who can shoot the three. Zach Edey's not going to make that, but he's been a hell of a college player, right? And Michigan State has no answer whatsoever. No. And I think Purdue's backcourt's pretty damn good. I like Walker. I like Hoggard. This Michigan State team is not the same type of Michigan State basketball team that we're used to seeing. That said, for them to get to, well, they got 19 wins now, I think. If they get 20 wins, it's a hell of a job by Tom Izzo and the Spartans this year to get to the NCAA tournament.
I love what you just said, Shep, because there is no problem with saying something like that. I go back to football. Tim Tebow might be the most dominant player I saw in college football.
Agreed.
He wasn't an NFLer.
Yeah.
That's just
that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah, you're not like, and sometimes people take it as like, why are you bashing on Zach? No, I mean, the way you explained it, I just don't see that guy's game translating. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't see
we've
that
seen a plenty of guys who you thought their game would translate. Michael Olowokandi, remember him?
Oh,
You're
gosh.
damn right you do.
Oh gosh,
he was the first overall pick. It didn't work. Okay, Wiggins, it didn't work. Harold Miner, it didn't work. Some guys are just really good college players, and I think sometimes we get too caught up in, you know what kind of pro is this guy going to be? I really appreciate the guys who are great college players.
Sure.
You and I both know Andy Mealy.
Yep.
He's from Grosse Pointe Woods. He played his college hockey at the University of Miami. All right. Not Florida. The Miami Redhawks used to be Redskins. He was the National Player of the Year. He's 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. Incredible player. Played on the team with a kid by the name of Justin Vive, who is Rick Vive's son. Justin Vive was like a third-round pick. Andy Mealy didn't get chosen. He was a Hobie Baker winner. Didn't get chosen. Why? Wasn't big. When you're not big, when you're small, you have to prove you can. When you're big, you have to prove you can't.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. Zach Edey's going to get a shot. I just don't think he's going to be a good pro.
No, I agree.
But I'm glad Michigan State's going to make it. Michigan, that's a different story, man. That's a problem.
I want to get into that in just a second. Fick said you like Hoggard. Well, that makes one of us. Ben said, Shep, hell yeah, good to see your face.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
Shep, I want to get your
thoughts. You don't
thoughts.
like Hoggard? Wait a minute. I'm not saying – you guys, let's keep in mind something, okay? I'm not saying he's going to be an NBA player. I think right now, for Michigan State, who do you like? I mean, who are the guys on that team that you feel like you can go to?
Tyson.
Well, I love Walker.
Yeah, that's
absolutely love him.
That's it.
But I like Hoggard too. I'm not saying he's a first team All Big Ten selection. Don't get me wrong.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I don't mind him being on that team.
I want to tell you about our friends at Legacy. See, Shep, this is new to you. So every few minutes, and I'm way overdue, I have to tell you about some of our friends. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters, just like Shep and I, have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance?
Those are good-looking guys right there.
Our friends at Legacy Partners, they're big hockey fans. Seriously.
Guy on the left looks like Joe Kosar.
Are one of the Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents that provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Put these guys to the test. Honestly, call, get a quote. It doesn't cost you anything because Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you and, save you some money. Isn't that the key? Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Get your free quote from Legacy Partners. Give them a shot to help you with your home, your cars, your insurance, Medicare enrollment, whatever the case may be. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes.
I like the website because it's easy to remember. Legacy Partners in INS. So legacypartnersinsurance.com.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. There's too many people out there. Their website doesn't match what they do. At least Legacy Partners does, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're great guys. Honestly, I say it all the time. Joe, Alex, Dave, they'll take care of you. No doubt about that. Give them a call.
So Brian sent something. It says 0 goals in the last 7 games stretch by DeBrincat, 1 goal by Kane, 0 by Raymond. I thought Raymond scored the other day.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't. I understand the DeBrincat concern, but yeah, Raymond scored the other day. So
there's something going on. I'll stick to it. I don't know. I'm not going to sit there. There's something going on. I don't know what it is, but again, losses are going to happen. The way they lose, it just it's very, very, very disconcerting.
Yeah. Michigan basketball.
I know you love, Shep. I was trying to think the best way to say this. I know you love when people call in and say, fire this guy, fire that guy. I know you're a huge fan of that game. Juwan Howard right now, I don't remember a guy, maybe going back to the late stages of Al Avila. Because whether people want to admit it or not don't get me started.
Actually made some good draft picks.
Not too long before then, people were saying he was the greatest general manager ever. If you want to lie, go ahead. You can do that. But you are killing people like me because I didn't light candles and incense at the altar of Akil Baddoo.
Right. He wasn't a draft pick. That was a Rule 5.
Rule 5, that shows how smart he is. Look at Akil Baddoo. People had their plans to Cooperstown 17
Dude, it's an
years
Aldo
ago.
Nova song. You're fooling yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, you're fooling. But honestly, it just seems like I sometimes I just peruse social media, and I mean the amount of people saying enough. Even diehard Michigan fans, like enough. I'm not going to ask you for your thoughts. Do you fire the guy or anything? But what happened this year? I know there were a bunch of things, but I don't think people.
I don't think it's just this year.
Yeah.
I think it's been building. There is an article that has Michigan hiring a firm that is, I don't want to say investigating, but at least exploring and looking into Michigan's basketball culture. That is a bad sign. All right. Now, you can say what you want about certain coaches. I've been around a number of them. You've been around them too. They are who they are, and their kids oftentimes respond. If their kids aren't responding, then there's a problem. People looked at, I'll use a couple of examples for just from a basketball standpoint. People looked at Tommy Amaker and said he doesn't get mad enough. He's not emotional enough on the sidelines. My response was always, the camera's not on him 24/7.
Yeah.
And you're not always watching him. You're watching play. Trust me when I tell you this, in practice, he's an emotional guy and he gets after it. He doesn't necessarily do that when the game's going on. There's something to be said that. They said the same thing about John Beilein. He's a pro. He's so professional. He's so nice. Listen, in practice, he is one tough dog on his players. I've watched Michigan practice, all right, because I've done things for Big Ten Network. They do it much differently than the way they've done it in the past. That doesn't make it wrong. But when you have people within your own athletic program saying we need to investigate or look into the culture because something is amiss here, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would ask you this. How many coaches, we all have kids. You're sitting in the living room couch. Coach comes in to recruit your child. And I've had this with one of my boys. What's the most important thing to you? Is it wins and losses? Is it getting into the next level? This is a time in your life where he is going to help formulate the man he's about to come or the young lady she's about to come. You're entrusting your child with somebody. It's really important. Okay? Do you want your son to play for someone who has threatened another coach, Mark Turgeon, and punched or slapped with an open hand another coach, and now reportedly has put his hands on a guy who has really helped guys? I mean, helped guys reach the NBA. You didn't think we're going to get to the NBA. John Sanderson's one of the best in the country at what he does, and you ran him off. That's a problem.
I want the guy to come into my living room and look me straight in the eye when we're talking about my kid and tell me how he's from the South Side. That's what I want. How that keeps coming up. Juwan, can I ask you a quick, where are you from? But he's mentioned that a couple times, like as to excuse it away. And it's by all accounts. And I actually met him many years ago, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy. He's a nice guy. He's got some temper issues.
Yeah,
he's got some temper issues.
Look, it can all be emotional. We're all emotional, right? But when you're a head coach, there are certain times you have to temper the emotion. Okay. Did you like the hire when it was made?
I thought it was smart. I did. I thought it was smart.
Okay, so I was in the minority. I did not like it, and here's the reason why. I thought, no disrespect here, he was a fourth assistant in the NBA. Okay. It's not like he was the right-hand guy. Are you going to rely on recruiting based on your name and the fact that you played in the NBA and are very successful? Start bringing your kids, and then you start to hear whispers about certain things that are lacking. Guys are late to this. Guys are blowing this off. Guys are disrespectful to this type of. And then you start to feel like, this isn't a collegiate situation. This feels more like an NBA situation. And that's when things started to, I think, take a little bit of a turn.
Yeah.
And then when you have off-site situations like big events where you're supposed to have people show up, glad hand, make sure it's good for the program, good for the entire athletic program, not just the basketball program, and they're not showing up, but other big high-profile coaches are, then you run into a bit of an issue too.
By the way, Jim said, I golf with Shep in the rain.
Nice, Jim.
at Fieldstone in Auburn Hills at a fundraiser. Nice guy, decent golfer.
Thanks, Jim.
He is a
You're putting
nice
it. You're putting it very nicely. Decent golfer. I say this all the time about my golf game. I'm not going to embarrass myself, but you're not going to say, "Boy, that guy can challenge for the club championship." It's not even close. But I enjoy the game. Thanks, Jim.
Let me tell you about our friends at Wealth Advantage. Not only are they my next door neighbors and friends of mine. Look at those handsome guys. See that? The guy on the left, that's Mike Husak. The guy on the right, that's Jeff Husak.
I like that suit.
And if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, you need to look no further than my guys at the Wealth Advantage Group. They are located in historic downtown Northville and owned by two brothers with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning.
Now, how do you think Sean bought this house, everybody?
Absolutely. You kidding me? Whether you're
think it's just his wife? No.
Whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, have clients in over 20 states as well. The investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to my pals, Mike and Jeff, the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or visit their website at www.thewealthadv.com. They're friends, they're my neighbors, and yeah, they've given us some great financial advice.
Why are they doing well and you and I are in your basement?
It's a good point. It's a very good point. No doubt about that.
Hey, Jim, by the way, I just got an email from Fieldstone, so maybe you and I could play again sometime.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Shep, I had to laugh this past week at all the people crying. There are times, I'm not going to lie to you, there are times I miss quote unquote sports talk radio. They're very few and far between.
Okay.
But there are times that I miss sports talk radio.
Yeah.
This past week was not one of them. People losing their minds over what Brad Holmes wasn't doing in the free agency period. It had me giggling. I saw comments like, well, he's never done well in free agency. And it's like, Jamal, then last year, Williams, Alex, forget it. We're not going to go there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to me, Shep, if Brad Holmes and what he's done on his watch hasn't won you over, you don't want to be won over.
Well, not only that, don't you think, and I don't think it's just Detroit, by the way, but I think in football in general, if you don't win every year, and I mean the offseason and in season, people feel like you're failing at your job. You're going to have swings and misses.
No doubt.
Okay. But I think he's been very financially responsible. Okay. The same people who are complaining about that are the same people who are upset that the Tigers signed Miguel Cabrera when they did. Remember, for that extension. This is going to ruin us for how long? I think he's borderline brilliant. I do. I think it's a really smart move on the part of the Lions.
100%.
You get stability there. I think he's done a wonderful job. I'm looking forward to the draft again, but it's never one of those things. With him now in charge, I have not, over the last 2 years, I have not looked at it and said, who are they going to pick? And I want to compare it to every draft nitpicking guru out there. I trust him.
100%.
And I think that's a hard thing to do.
His cachet is sky high right now, Shep. And that's why, in the first couple of days of free agency, you're seeing this guy, mad money being thrown at that guy, mad money being thrown at that guy. Let's look at the long-term game. And that's what I've always appreciated about Brad Holmes. I think he's one of those guys that he's looking at the long game. And the draft and picking up those extra picks with Matthew Stafford, that was all about, if you were expecting things in 21 or 22, that's your fault. You're not reading the tea leaves and everything. And to me, that's what I like about this guy is looking beyond that and saying, all right, there are going to be some guys on the third or fourth day of free agency that aren't going to cost as much, that are going to be fits. Yeah. And that's what I care about. I care about fits, And oh, by the way, this guy's kind of made his bread via the draft as well. And we have the draft coming up. And to me, Shep, I honestly think this is one of my biggest disconnects with the listening audience in the past 10 years. I think people look at free agency, far too many people look at free agency as the fix. As opposed to an addition. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference 100%. Between the fix and the addition.
I also think a lot of people, and this is why a good general manager doesn't get too emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? No knee-jerk reaction. What you're doing is you're making sure you're getting the right person at the right position for your team. It doesn't always have to be the best player out there, because maybe that player doesn't necessarily fit your locker room, your scheme. We don't know what the scheme is all the time. I was having this debate with somebody the other day. They said, well, in the draft, I really think J.J. McCarthy, or they refer to him as J.J. Oh, my God, I'm so tired of that. J.J. McCarthy really fits the Minnesota system. And I nodded a little bit, and I said, what's their system?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, I just think, with their coach. I said, no, I understand what you're saying. I don't know their system. I'm willing to admit that. What makes J.J. McCarthy any better than any other quarterback in the draft that fits their system?
Right.
We use these cliches and these words. I mean, study it. I mean, is it play action? Is it 18? Is it what are they going 3 wides? Tell me, what is it about that system that is so important that the fit is there for J.J. McCarthy? So I think with Brad Holmes, he literally does, because he knows his system, because he knows his coaching staff, and he knows that room. He's getting guys who fit, not just the system, but fit the room.
100%.
Right? Now, what's interesting is what happened today is the draft, the trade that's taking place. Minnesota gets a couple of ones from Houston. They've got to be looking to trade up to try and get a quarterback, you would think, right?
Right. More on JJ in a second. Can I tell you about our friends with the Motor City Rockers? It's fantastic hockey. Another big weekend out in Fraser. This weekend promises an exhilarating lineup as the Motor City Rockers face off against the Port Huron Prowlers in a 3-game set. The Rockers currently leading the battle of I-94 Series 7-5, and they have a golden opportunity to further solidify their dominance on the ice. Now, Friday, they're going to be in Port Huron, but get your butt out to Big Boy Arena, because Saturday marks a special occasion as it's Youth Sports Night. The Rockers extend a warm invitation to all your youth sport groups and organizations to join in the festivities and celebrate their invaluable contributions to the youth sports industry. This event takes place Saturday, March 16th at 6:05. And stick around. What a St. Patrick's Day game this should be. The Rockers spotting vibrant green specialty jerseys, adding an extra dash of flair to the occasion. Make sure to take advantage of the special offer as they take on Port Huron again. Listen to this offer. 2 tickets, a bucket of beer for just $40. It makes it the perfect way to enjoy the game with friends and family on St. Patrick's Day. Don't miss out on this spirited event happening at 2:05. The Sunday matinee against the Port Huron Prowlers. For tickets, make sure you go to mcrockershockey.com. Big weekend games Saturday and Friday.
It's a great deal with a bucket of beer.
Heck yeah. Mike, I'm not going to be hating on JJ. Shep,
yeah, we're not hating on JJ. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's a hell of a leader. Everybody's reference in Metro Detroit to just JJ is gets a little old. That's just, look, Mike, that is just me. That's a personal pet peeve of mine. The nicknames at times get a little wearing on me.
We were talking about this going back a couple months ago, Shep, and listen, I'm guilty as charged. I love reading all the mock drafts. I love reading all the information, but I also say it with a caveat. What you're looking at in January is so off the mark usually, and you start to find out what people feel. And I remember reading a mock draft, and it was nice to read a mock draft in late January as opposed to in November. Usually around
care
here,
about it.
Usually around here, we're already looking ahead. It was great to start in late January.
Agreed, 100%.
But the first mock draft that I looked at had J.J. McCarthy at like 35.
I know. I saw the same thing. I know.
Huh?
And now look at where they got him.
People, because as you know, you start to find out what people think. I think J.J. McCarthy is a stud, and you know who I root for. I don't exactly Hyatt.
Really good.
I think that kid has immense potential.
I would say this though. I hope whoever gets him gives him a chance to learn first.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said this about quarterbacking forever. It's the hardest position to transition from college to the pros. So you're a guy who you bring in Peyton Manning and he does what he does. It's amazing to be able to go from college to the pros and have that type of quick success. It's really difficult. I just hope he gets in a place, in a system, surrounded by the right coaching and right veterans, which I think is really important, to give him a chance to get groomed a little bit more than just thrown to the fire.
It's interesting, Shep, because in our time here, I think both as fans and certainly covering the team, we've never seen that guy here in Detroit. That guy that you mentioned, drafted as the franchise quarterback. Matthew Stafford was the guy, but
I think right away. And Dante Culpepper.
By the way, I don't think he gets enough credit. I really don't. I don't think Matthew gets enough credit. He's a heck of a quarterback.
Phenomenal player.
I just, but we've never seen that guy, like other franchises have had, come in and going to take you all the way to the top. It wasn't Matthew's fault. I don't want to misconstrue. And the flip side to that is you and I had a very front row seat for the whole Joey Harrington situation. And
that was brutal.
It was off the field and on the field. I don't feel badly about calling them blue skies and all that stuff. I really don't. But that was ugly.
That was great.
That was
so well done by you.
But
here, that's a really good example of what Brad Holmes is not the kind of general manager who would have drafted Joey Harrington because he wouldn't have fit in his room 100%. Right now, number one. And number two, because he doesn't draft for need. He drafts his best players. The best general managers, like I always find it funny when you have these debates with people and they're like, well, we got to get a defensive end in the first round. If you have one first round pick. So you're telling me if the highest guy on your board drops, you're going to take a defensive end who you might have rated 6?
Amen.
That's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. So in case people are wondering, and in case they missed it, Minnesota traded a couple of second-round picks to get an extra first. Minnesota now has 2 first-round picks, all right? They have the number 11 overall, and is it 23 or 24? Something along those lines. Anyway, I think they're trying to position themselves to move up and get one of the quarterbacks. Chicago's not moving. Washington just traded Sam Howell. They're not moving. New England's already said they want a Q, so they're not moving. And the Cardinals and then the Chargers, they both have their quarterbacks, even though I'm not a Kyler Murray guy. Somehow Minnesota feels like, I'm guessing here, has to get in front of the Giants. Right? The Giants are 6.
Rob said, are the Vikings thinking JJ doesn't make it to 11 with this trade? They probably figured Denver would scoop him up at 12.
I think you're right there, Rob.
Yeah.
I do. But I think they might believe that the Giants might take him.
Yeah.
And give him a chance to mature under Daniel Jones. Look, I know they signed Daniel Jones. Stop with the contracts. Oh, you're stuck. Denver just got rid of Russell Wilson.
Right.
All right. The Giants would be, if they don't believe in Daniel Jones, just because they just signed him doesn't matter. Most of that money's up front. They pay him, and then they move on. But J.J. McCarthy comes in, learns under Daniel Jones, might not be a bad situation. I'm speculating there. I'm just saying, don't get fooled just because they recently signed Daniel Jones to an extension means that they're not going to look at a quarterback at 6. I think they would.
Mike, our buddy from Wealth Advantage, Vikings are on the clock at 1, huh? Yeah, it'll be interesting. How about Rob? Andre Ware was Bobby Lane, but better. So I wasn't in the business yet, but I remember going to one of those exhibition games early, Shep. He couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
He couldn't throw. Like, I'm not being funny. I'm not being mean. And I don't know. Were you up in Saginaw the first practice when Joey was throwing for Mariucci? And
I wasn't at the first practice, but I went up there and watched them. Yes, but I wasn't at the first.
And
practice.
It was, you know what? It was like those commercials, bitter beer face. Because, in his office, what Mariucci wants to do in that West Coast offense is those short.
Yeah.
And he was missing every short route. And it was Mooch was making these faces like you couldn't hide it. Like you could see right away that quarterback's skill set and what Mariucci wanted just were not there.
But doesn't it make you think sometimes, what are you watching?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have Andre Ware in front of you going through the entire route tree?
Right.
Do you have Joey Harrington throwing the type of routes that you know are going to be most important to your offense?
Check down?
And if he is, how come why are you drafting him?
Right.
Are you really looking at Akika Lama Francis and thinking that's a really good idea to draft that guy because he played volleyball at Hawaii?
Did you hear that? I can't believe you brought that up.
That's great. I mean, who's looking at these people? I mean, you go into it, and it's not just the Lions, by the way. Who goes into how does Stan Van Gundy go into the Pistons practice facility, watch Stanley Johnson work out, watch a guy like I just lost his name for crying out loud. Oh, Donovan Mitchell, and say, you know what? What do you guys think? And everybody says Donovan Mitchell might have the best workout we've ever seen. I'm going to take Stanley Johnson. How do you do that?
Do you remember?
Or Luke Kennard. I think it was Luke Kennard.
Do you remember a certain running back out of Wisconsin where the whole draft room agreed on one guy?
Brian Calhoun?
And
Matt Millen. Third-round pick. You want to fight me?
Matt Millen decided that on the way up, nope. I know that just 2 seconds ago we all agreed on this guy. Brian Calhoun's a guy. That's your man. Listen, we got to get out of here.
He was coached by Barry Alvarez.
Yes.
So that's all that really matters.
I do have a fondness for Barry Alvarez. Let's before we get out of here, I got to tell you about our friend Lindsay Broadwell. If you are looking to buy, sell, both, doesn't matter. You know who's got your back? The agent that I recommend, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you will ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up right here on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. So when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and that everything goes smoothly when buying your new home. Buyers, sellers, first-time buyers, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Isn't this easy, Shep? This is, by the way, we're going to be doing stuff in the future, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to it. We just talked here for about an hour and we didn't even I
didn't know that.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy.
You know why? Because there's no hard breaks.
Oh, I know.
Sean and I come from a medium of radio where you had to, you got to be out at 20,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be out at 40, but you just shoot the proverbial, you know what? And can we swear on this, by the way?
Oh yeah, you can. I'll get yelled at, but you can swear, but I'm not doing it. I'll get yelled at.
Shoot the proverbial shit. It's great.
Yeah, that's right. Shit.
Plus, I got a chance to see his house. Meet his dogs.
Here we go.
So we're going to go up. We're going to fry some eggs, grill some sausage, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Off the Air with Sean Baligian, featuring Sean Baligian and Blake Matrazak. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Play It Loud by Jam Studio. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Off the Air with Sean Baligian on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.